There is a pattern woven into the fabric of creation itself, a code so precise, so deliberate, that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The number 3, the number 6, the number 9. These are not random figures pulled from mysticism or superstition. They are the architectural blueprint of divine abundance, hidden in plain sight within the teachings that Jewish families have quietly passed down for centuries. And the families who follow this code, who live by it, organize their homes around it, and honor its rhythm, tend to experience something that outsiders call luck. But it is not luck. It has never been luck. Think for a moment about the households you have known in your life, the ones where things always seemed to work out, where money came when needed, where relationships held together, where children thrived and parents aged with dignity. Now think about the households where struggle seemed to multiply, no matter how hard people worked. The difference in most cases had nothing to do with intelligence or effort. It had everything to do with invisible structures, with energetic patterns inside the home that either welcomed abundance or quietly, systematically repelled it. Most people never learn this. Most people go their entire lives rearranging the furniture without ever understanding that what needed rearranging was something far deeper. What you are about to hear today has been protected within scholarly Jewish circles for generations. Rabbinical teachers did not broadcast these principles publicly because they understood something crucial, that sacred knowledge requires proper preparation to be received. But the world has changed, and certain things need to be shared now, because too many good people are suffering unnecessarily, carrying burdens that ancient wisdom could lift from their shoulders entirely. My grandmother gave me these secrets in her home 50 years ago. Every blessing, every protection, every tradition that makes a Jewish home truly sacred. Now I've gathered them all into one book just for you. Visit the link in the description or pinned comment and let me be your grandmother too. The 369 code is not a magic trick. It is not a shortcut. It is a way of aligning your home, and therefore your life, with the divine mathematical order that the Creator built into existence from the very beginning. And once you understand why these numbers carry the weight they do, you will begin to see them everywhere, in the Torah, in the structure of prayer, in the design of the human body, in the rhythms of the week and the year. They have always been there. You simply were not shown where to look. Let us begin with 3, because 3 is where everything starts. There is a teaching from the Talmud, one that was debated for years in the great academies of learning, that says a thing does not truly exist until it has occurred 3 times. One occurrence is an event. 2 occurrences are a coincidence. But 3 times? 3 times establishes a chazakah, a spiritual legal presumption, a reality. This is not poetry. This is how the sages understood the structure of creation itself. 3 is the number of establishment, of foundation, of permanence. And this is why the number 3 carries such extraordinary power when applied to the home. There was once a woman in the old city of Seift, that mystical hilltop where Kabbalistic tradition was born and nurtured, who came to her rabbi in despair. Her husband had worked hard all his life. They had done everything they believed was right, and yet poverty clung to them like a shadow they could not shake. The rabbi listened carefully. Then he asked her one question. He said, "Tell me, When you enter your home, what is the first thing you do? She thought about it. She said she usually set her bags down, kicked off her shoes, and went straight to the kitchen to begin preparing food. The rabbi nodded slowly. He said, "From tonight, you will do something different. You will stand at the threshold of your door for just a moment. You will say 3 words, and only 3, with complete intention. You will say, Shalom, Bracha, Parnassah, peace, blessing, sustenance, 3 words, 3 times, once when you arrive, once at midday, once before sleep." She looked at him skeptically. He smiled and said, "Abundance does not force itself through a closed door. You must learn to speak it in." This is the first principle of the 369 code, the threshold ritual of 3. The entrance to your home is not merely a physical boundary. In Kabbalistic understanding, it is a portal, the meeting point between the outer world and the inner sanctuary. What energy you invite across that threshold sets the spiritual temperature of everything inside. The mezuzah placed on the doorpost is not decoration. It is a declaration. It says, "This home is consecrated. This home is different." But the mezuzah alone is passive. It requires activation through intention. And the simplest form of intention is language. 3 deliberate words spoken 3 times daily. You may feel strange doing this at first. Most people do. But consider what most people are unconsciously speaking as they enter their homes. Complaints about the day, worry about bills, arguments that spill in from the street. These words also carry energy. These words also set the temperature. The sages taught that the home is a miniature Beit HaMikdash, a sacred temple, and no one enters a temple speaking carelessly. Now, what I am about to share next builds on this foundation in a way that surprises most people who hear it for the first time. The number 3 does not only govern the threshold, it governs zones of the home itself. In Kabbalistic spatial understanding, every dwelling can be divided into 3 primary zones of energy flow: the entrance, the center, and the hearth, which in a modern home corresponds to your main cooking area. These 3 zones form what the mystics called the Aleph pathway, the invisible line through which divine energy moves when it enters a home. When this pathway is clear, clean, and intentionally maintained, abundance flows without obstruction. My grandmother gave me these secrets in her home 50 years ago. Every blessing, every protection, every tradition that makes a Jewish home truly sacred. Now I've gathered them all into one book just for you. Visit the link in the description or pinned comment and let me be your grandmother too. When it is cluttered, neglected, or energetically polluted, everything in the home suffers: finances, relationships, health, even sleep. Think about the entrance of your home right now. Is there clutter there? Shoes piled up? Mail that has not been sorted? Objects that do not belong? Every item blocking that threshold is, energetically speaking, blocking the flow of Parnassah, divine sustenance, from entering your space. A young rabbi named Elazar once told his congregation that if he could visit each of their homes and remove only one thing, he would go straight to the entrance and clear it. Not because of aesthetics, because of energy, because what accumulates at the doorway accumulates in the life. The practice here is simple, but requires consistency. 3 times each week, and notice how the number 3 appears again. You clear the entrance zone of anything that does not serve a welcoming purpose. You do not need to make it beautiful. You need to make it intentional. You need to look at that space with the eyes of someone who believes that what waits outside is good, and that you're creating a worthy passage for that goodness to enter. This is also where abundance changes, not in the bank account, not first. It changes at the threshold, but now we move to 6, and 6 is where things become truly extraordinary. 6 is the number of creation. The Creator formed the world in 6 days, 6 days of labor, 6 days of building and filling and shaping. And this is not arbitrary. 6 represents the complete cycle of productive energy and physical reality. The Kabbalistic tradition speaks of the 6 lower sephirot, the divine attributes that govern our material world. Chesed, which is loving kindness. Gevurah, which is strength and boundaries. Tiferah, which is beauty and harmony. Netzach, which is victory and persistence. Hod, which is gratitude and surrender. And Yesod, which is the foundation that connects all of the above to their physical expression. These 6 qualities, when balanced and flowing, produce Malkut, the kingdom, the physical realm of blessing made manifest. What does this mean for your home? There is a practice that wealthy Sephardic Jewish families have maintained for centuries, passed quietly from mothers to daughters and fathers to sons. They call it the 6 corners blessing. Every Friday before Shabbat, and note that Shabbat begins as the 6th day concludes, they walk to 6 specific points in their home. Not the same 6 points for every family. Each family learns their home, feels where the energy gathers and where it stagnates. Usually these 6 points are the 4 corners of the main living space, the kitchen, and the bedroom. At each point they pause. They place their hand flat against the wall, and they say, either aloud or in whisper, a variation of this blessing. May this corner know nothing but blessing. May what is built here be strong. May what rests here be restored. 6 points, 6 moments of intention, 6 acts of speaking life into the physical structure of the space you inhabit. This is not superstition. This is what the Zohar calls awakening the letters, activating the spiritual potential dormant in material reality through conscious human intention. The mystics believe that every stone, every wall, every beam of wood in a home absorbs the energy spoken within it. Joyful homes become warmer. Contentious homes become cold. The walls themselves hold memory. The 6 corners practice is a weekly reset, a reconsecration that wipes the accumulated negativity from the prior week and reestablishes the home as a vessel worthy of divine abundance. If you cannot do this every Friday, begin with once a month. On the first Friday of each month before the sun sets, walk the 6 points of your home. Speak to your walls. It will feel strange. Do it anyway. Within 3 months, and again 3, you will notice something shifting, not dramatically, not all at once, but the quality of what happens in your home will begin to change. There is something else attached to the number 6 that most people overlook entirely. And this is a piece that many rabbis hesitate to discuss openly because it requires a level of spiritual honesty that is uncomfortable. 6 is also the number of incompleteness, because after 6 comes 7. After labor comes rest. After striving comes receiving. And one of the deepest reasons many homes remain financially stuck is that the people within them have never learned to move from 6 to 7. They are perpetually in striving mode, always producing, always pushing, never creating the sacred pause that allows what they have worked for to actually arrive. Abundance is not only attracted by effort, It is attracted by readiness, by spaciousness, by creating a container worthy of what you are asking for. This is why the wealthiest Jewish families, not just financially, but in terms of peace and joy and legacy, have always guarded Shabbat with fierce devotion, not merely as religious obligation, as financial strategy, as energetic hygiene. The one day each week when the household stops striving and instead practices receiving, when the table is set beautifully, when the best food is prepared, when candles are lit and prayers are spoken, and the family gathers. This is not ceremony for its own sake. This is training the soul and the home in the art of receiving. And you cannot receive what you never practice receiving. Now stay with me, because what comes next, the principle of 9, is the one that ties everything together. This is the revelation that most people who study Kabbalah spend years searching for and rarely find expressed so simply. 9 is the number of completion. It is the final single digit before the return to 1, before the cycle begins again. In the mathematics of creation, 9 has a remarkable property. Multiply any number by 9, and when you add the digits of the result together, you always return to 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 times 5 is 45. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 always returns to itself. It cannot be diluted. It cannot be scattered. This is what the mystics understood about 9. It is the number of divine completion, of spiritual wholeness that cannot be reduced or diminished. And in the home, 9 governs the most sacred act of all, the preparation and sharing of meals. There is a teaching attributed to the Baal Shem Tov, the great founder of Hasidic mysticism, that says the dinner table of a Jewish home is holier than the altar of the temple, because at the altar only the priests could serve. But at the family table, every person becomes a priest. Every meal becomes a holy offering. Every act of feeding another soul is an act of divine imitation, because the Creator feeds all creatures, and when we feed one another, we participate in that divine act. This is not metaphor. This is the literal Kabbalistic understanding of what happens at the family table. Now here is where 9 enters. The Kabbalistic tradition identifies 9 sacred moments within a properly conducted meal. 9 points where the veil between physical nourishment and spiritual blessing becomes thin. The washing of hands, the blessing over bread, the first bite taken in silence and gratitude, the pouring of water for another before pouring for yourself, the sharing of food from your plate, the expression of gratitude for something specific that happened that day, the blessing after the meal, the final cup, and the moment of peace before rising from the table. 9 acts, 9 thresholds. When a meal contains all 9, the Kabbalists taught, it becomes a magnet for parnassah, divine sustenance, that extends its blessing far beyond the meal itself. Most people eat in distraction, phone in hand, television playing in the background, rushing between bites. And while the physical hunger is satisfied, the spiritual hunger goes completely unaddressed. The meal passes without a single one of the 9 thresholds being honored, and the home energetically registers this. The table, which should be the most powerful abundance magnet in your dwelling, becomes just a piece of furniture. You do not need to observe every Jewish dietary law to begin incorporating the 9 sacred meal moments into your household. You do not need to be Jewish. These principles were observed before the Torah was given. They are woven into the structure of creation itself. Begin with 1 meal per week, where you commit to honoring at least 3 of the 9. Wash your hands with intention before eating. Speak a blessing, any blessing in any language from any tradition, over the food. Sit in silence for 1 breath before beginning. These 3 acts, practiced consistently, begin the process of transforming your table into what it was always meant to be. There is a family in Mexico City, a family I was once told about by a teacher who knew them personally, that had struggled financially for 3 generations. The grandfather had worked hard. The father had worked hard. And the son was watching the same pattern unfold in his own life. Then someone shared with him the teaching of the 9 sacred meal moments. He was skeptical. He was educated. He had a business degree and believed in rational solutions. But he was also desperate. So he tried it. Not all 9 at once. He began with the blessing, the silence, and the gratitude practice. He required it at the Friday dinner table. Just that 1 meal per week. Within 6 months, 6 again, something had shifted in the household. Not the finances, not immediately, but the quality of conversation, the sense of unity, the way his children began to speak about the future. And when the financial shift came, it came through a door he had not expected, through a connection formed at that very table with a guest he had invited for Shabbat. This is what the code means in practice. It is not about magic. It is about alignment. When your threshold speaks welcome, when your home's 6 corners are blessed, and when your table is consecrated through the 9 sacred moments, you have created a dwelling that is fundamentally different from the average home. You have made your home a kli, a vessel, that the divine abundance, the shefa, can pour into without spilling. And here is the final element, the piece that ties the 3 and the 6 and the 9 into a single living practice. Because these numbers are not separate. They are one movement. 3 is the threshold, what you invite in. 6 is the structure, how you build the container. 9 is the consecration, what you fill it with. And they do not operate in isolation. They create a spiral, a dynamic, living rhythm. The Kabbalistic tradition speaks of this as the tselem, the divine image, imprinted in the architecture of a consecrated home. When all 3 numerical principles are honored, the home ceases to be merely a shelter and becomes, in the Kabbalistic sense, a living spiritual entity, a place where the Shekinah, the divine presence, chooses to dwell. And where the Shekinah dwells, the Talmud teaches unambiguously, blessing follows as naturally as light follows fire. The families who know this code have known it for centuries. They have whispered it to their children at the Shabbat table. They have encoded it in their domestic practices so deeply that the practices themselves no longer feel like ritual. They feel like home. And this is precisely why these families seem different, why certain doors seem to open for them, why abundance seems to find them even in difficult times. It is not favoritism from heaven, it is preparation on earth. You can begin today, not with all of it. Begin with 3. Stand at your threshold. Speak the 3 words, shalom, bracha, parnassah, with your full attention and your full heart. Do it for 3 consecutive days. Notice what changes. Then add the 6. Walk the corners of your home on a Friday evening. Speak blessing into the walls that hold your life. Then when you are ready, bring 9 to your table. Create 1 meal each week that is approached as a sacred act rather than a daily obligation. The psalmist wrote in Psalm 128, and this was always understood as a household blessing. You shall eat the fruit of your own hands. You shall be happy, and it will be good for you. Happy and good in that order, not good and then happy. The happiness is the prerequisite, the joy of a properly consecrated home, the peace, the warmth, the sacred rhythm. This is what creates the conditions for goodness to multiply. This is the moment everything shifts, not when you receive more, when you prepare better, when your home becomes a place that abundance recognizes as its proper destination, when the energy of your household speaks the same language as the energy of blessing itself. Remember this: abundance is your birthright. It was designed into creation for you. The 369 code is not something you earn. It is something you return to. Like all wisdom, it does not create something new. It restores something ancient, something that was always yours, waiting for you to remember where you left it. May your threshold welcome only blessing. May your home hold only peace. May your table become the altar it was always meant to be. May the Shefa, the divine overflow of abundance, find your household prepared and worthy. May prosperity and protection walk with you and everyone you love in all your days and in all your ways. Amen. If this teaching touched something in you today, share it with someone whose home needs this wisdom. Subscribe so that these ancient teachings continue to find you, because every word shared here is a seed, and seeds planted in prepared soil never fail to grow.